Hi, this is David Consumer. I wanted to show how my new Ray poketrack works. And I'm just going to go over the basic built-in synths, but I can cover more different instrument types later. Um, this is basically this is the simplest stuff pretty much. And you can start making tracks pretty much right away with the built-in stuff. So let's do it. Um, so the controls are pretty much like an SNES joystick, but at the very minimum, it needs to be like a Game Boy or a Nintendo joystick. So A and B button, a D-pad, and start and select. And then if you have left and right and you have X and Y, you can do extra stuff. So when I'm saying all these things in the video as I'm describing what I'm doing, I'm gonna use the names that are um, the names that are for the buttons, right? So when I say A, um, what I mean is like the X key on your keyboard or the A button position on like a Nintendo. When I say B, I mean Z key, uh, and the same thing with X and Y, which is S and A. Left and right on your keyboard are Q and W. Shift and Enter are select and start. And then the arrows are the D-pad. So the reason I sort of normalize on that is because I want it's all very driven to be like for a handheld kind of thing, like a Steam Deck or a one of those Ambernick devices or something like that. So um, if you need to look up what the keys are or whatever, I might make some kind of editor thing later so you can change your settings. But for now, this is this works pretty good. So okay, so the first thing is we press select and then arrows to change screens. So the first screen you're on is song. If you go up, you're on pattern. If you go down, you're on instrument. If you go right, you're on menu, which is kind of like all the song related stuff. And then if you go left, you're back to song. So let's set up some stuff in menu. So again, that's a select and then right. So if I press A, that means I want to edit the value, and I use arrows to go up and down to pick something. I'm going to pick Persian for my scale. So it's C Persian scale. And this doesn't actually affect how it plays. It just affects, or how it records. It just affects what notes, when you're entering things, what notes does it show. It makes it a little bit faster to make songs that all the notes go together. So I use that a lot. Loop is whether or not it loops in song mode. And we're going to do BPM 80. So it has kind of a slow goth feel with an 80 in Persian, or maybe a little bit industrial, something like that. Okay, so now we go back to song with shift and left, and that's what's on our screen, right? So the first thing we need to do in order to make the song is go to instrument, and we need let's say we want a drum, right? If you go to drum, you can see that each one of these has a parameter. And they have numbers. So you can sequence any parameter to be any value you want. It's basically 0 to FF. So 0, 0 to FF. And so, for example, if I wanted to change the drum back and forth from kick to snare, I could do that. You don't always want to build instruments this way. You might want two separate instruments for your drums so that you can have things playing at the same time. For example, you might want a hi-hat on every beat or something like that, or you might want a hi-hat at the same time as a kick and a snare. And so that's how you do that. You just make two instruments, and then you do all the parts that you want on one of them and all the other parts on the other one. And in song, you can play two tracks simultaneously. This isn't exactly like a lot of times patterns in trackers, it means a whole bunch of different tracks, but on this one, it's more one pattern is one track, but you can have multiple things in any place you want. So if I wanted to play two copies of 0 pattern, I can do that. Or that, or, you know. You also don't need to line the numbers up. Like the rows are just, you know, the different numbers for these columns are not, they don't correspond to the pattern. So just think of it as like 16 slots that you can put simultaneous tracks in. I might increase the limits for things like that, but I'm trying to keep it like kind of low resource so it works well, you know, enough on like low end devices. So yeah, that's part of the design there. Okay, so we don't have anything set up, but let's go to pattern. And currently it's on pattern 7. I'm not sure why, but I'll scroll down. I'm doing this with the L button on the joystick, which is Q on your keyboard. So you can scroll through different patterns. The same thing is true on instruments. You can scroll through, if you're over here, you can scroll through like different instruments, and you can quickly edit like different ones that way. So okay, so we're on pattern 5. Let's go to first pattern, and if we put notes in here, they should be the kick drum. Yeah. Okay, now again, if we wanted to bounce multiple things on one drum, we could do that, but let's just listen to what this sounds like. So I did that with start, and I got, you know, a rolling kind of pattern there. Now I don't really like this, so I'm going to delete some of this. A faster way to delete is to just hit the Y button, which clears an entire column, so you can go like that. So if I go like that, those are a little too close together. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. Let's try that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I want to do snares and kick drums on the same instrument. So let's do this. Now those are all kicks currently, but again, you can use the parameter, set it to parameter 0, and then you can press X to fill the column, and that'll give you all kick drums. So this is like everyone is kick drum. And then here I can turn every other one into a snare. Okay, I'm getting mixed up. Okay. Okay, so if we go back to the instrument, I think that the decay is a little bit too long on this one. So let's go down. And if I go back here, I can mess with it, and you can see the value is changing. So I want it to be really punchy. I think I'm going to go with like very low decay, maybe 1. Yeah, okay. So that's our first portion. And so you can see like these zeros aren't actually being used because they're in between where notes are. But basically this sequences the parameter back and forth, and it flips between kick and snare. And I could even just delete these because they're not being used. That's clearer. And that gives us our pattern. Okay. So I think I do want to have a close hi-hat on every single note. So I'm going to make a new drum, just one more drum. And again, you use like left and right here to like scroll through the instruments. So I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to make it a drum, and I'm going to hard code it to hi-hat, and I'm going to turn the decay down so it's really sharp. And I don't think I'm going to mess with the punch and tone. We'll just keep it short. So, all right, so in pattern 1, I'm going to make a hi-hat on every single one. So I can do that by setting this to instrument 1, which is the new hi-hat that we just created, and I will fill it, and then I will add some notes. And I can listen to this with start. And if I want to hear it together, I have to put them in the song mode. So let's do 0 pattern and 1 pattern. And again, the numbers don't actually correspond to the instrument. You can mix instruments inside patterns as much as you want. You can mix tracks inside here. So even though it looks really limited, you can actually make pretty complicated songs. And so let's hear those 2 drum tracks together. So it's playing through here, it's making a hi-hat on every single one. And then, yeah, here's the hi-hats, here's the kick and snare. Okay, so let's go down to our instrument, and I want to change the kick snare instrument that we're using. I want to add distortion. So let's add distortion, and I want to add delay. And so again, I'm doing this with A and then the arrows, and I'm just kind of scrolling through. And then let's set the time kind of short, set the feedback kind of short. And if I hit start right now, it'll play in song mode so we can hear them together. And yeah, let's mess with the drive. Okay, so now we have kind of, I mean, it almost sounds like a Skinny Puppy beat or something. So let's give ourselves a little, I don't know, a 303 kind of sounding, bass line, right? So again, I'll go here, I'll just make pattern 2. It doesn't exist yet, but if we go up here, because I was just on pattern 2, that's the one that's like auto-selected. And we're gonna set the instrument to 2 as well, because that's free. And we just haven't used that yet. So like we have 1 is the hi-hat, 0 is the kick snare with the distortion and delay. So now we're gonna make 2, and let's make 2 an oscillator. And I think I want triangle, and I want to cut the decay real short and turn off the sustain. Okay. So now if we go here in this pattern, we should be able to make like short little 303 style like bass notes. Okay, so let's do, yeah. Okay, so one thing we got to do is we got to fill everything with 2 so that it will use our bass instrument. And now we can do this. And so what I'm doing here is I'm pressing A and up to add the note, and then I'm holding down A and pressing left to go down an octave. Okay, so we're going to start with a bass of C, and we're going to do like, I don't know, we'll play with it. All right, so this will create kind of a, if you think about it, the notes are going like kind of in a sine wave pattern or whatever, like up and down. Okay, so let's hear what that sounds like. Sounds okay. I want to mess with this a little bit and just see if we can get it sounding better. So I'm turning the decay up. I'll add a little bit of sustain. Okay, and then here I'm going to add some reverb. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now if we go back over here, and instead of playing it just in the pattern, if we play all 3 of those together, we get kick and snare, closed hi-hat, and our bass line. Now I think the delay is a little weird on the kick snare. So let's go down here and let's find the kick snare instrument, which is this one, and let's just get rid of the delay. We don't need that. Okay. Okay, so it seems like it's doing something weird. Let's look at, what is this? I'm going to delete some of these unused ones. No, actually, that doesn't really do anything. Okay. Maybe we'll do some cuts. So you can do an off message by doing by pressing A and then B. And this will shorten the notes so it like cuts right after it plays it. Sounds pretty good. I think maybe what's happening is there's a lot of reverb, like it's really big. Maybe I'll get rid of that. Let's see what that sounds like. So it doesn't really have the vibe I want. I think I need a different waveform here. Maybe a saw. Okay, and I think I'm gonna increase the notes in here. Maybe if we do, like. So now I'm kind of doing double duty, like melody and bass a little bit, but that's okay. So let's hear what it all sounds like. So that's the basis. When you're all done, you can save your track. And just press A here and it'll save, and that's it. There's lots of other instruments, so we can definitely like do a lot more here. You can also mix multiples of instruments. So if I wanted to have like several oscillators that were all controlled by the same note, that were just different oscillators, we can do that. Like here. But it's kind of cacophonous. This one's pretty good. What else? Oh yeah. So yeah, we could do more effects in here as well. If we wanted to like add other stuff. They're color coded, so like the brighter color is sound sources, and the kind of gray blue is effects. So you can mix those however you want. And again, you can sequence any effect, or as we did with the type on the drum, on instrument 0, I just sequence this parameter type back and forth. So yeah, you can sequence any effect that you want, and should work pretty well. On patterns themselves, you can only mess with like two parameters at a time. So you may have to do some tricky stuff like in between to get like multiple things to work together. I'm not really sure. If you really need that many, I don't know. Maybe there's other tricks you could do, like using multiple patterns at once to like mess with the same instrument, things like that. But yeah, it's meant to just be pretty simple to like use it. I guess that's it. Have fun.